Hi, I'm Deepa, and I call myself the Creative Mystic, and welcome to my Sacred Art Studio. I was guided last week to call this Sacred Space for you to create. I think that was the title, right? Sacred Space for you to create, right? Receive the Spirit Guide blessings. And as I was meditating before, what I got is what the most important sacred space is. Do you have any idea what that is? What the most important sacred space is? When you hear the word sacred space, you tend to think of physical space, right? Now, if you've been here before, you've heard me talk about the most important sacred space is the sacred space within you. And my spirit guides want me to talk with you about that, to share with you the importance when you're creative, when you're a mystic, a spiritual seeker, someone who wants to grow spiritually, is on that path of awakening, of wanting to grow your gifts, your spiritual gifts, develop your ability to manifest what you really want in your life, that the most important sacred space is the sacred space within you. And she wants me to share with you today some of what that will take so you can begin to open the door to opening up your sacred space. All right? So what we're going to do first, though, before we get to that message, is invite in the spirit guides. I want you to invite them into your space, the physical space wherever you are, and obviously your inner space. And that means going within and connecting. All right, so we're going to use the tradition of the bell, of awakening and saying hello to your higher power. Whether you call that higher power God, Spirit, the universe, you get to choose, but to welcome in the sacred energy. All right, so we're going to call in the sacred energy of my spirit guides. I was given that the heart chakra angel over there wanted to be here today, and we'll see what else. Also, Mother of Sincerity, which is right there. She is really important in helping you step in to your sincere self, which is what a lot of people call their authentic self. How do you be in full alignment with your truth? Because that's where the heart chakra angel and the Mother of Sincerity work together. How do you bring those two together? Okay? So let's take a moment. Focus on that breath, on that deep belly breath, where the belly rises with the inhalation and falls with the exhalation. And they're telling me to communicate to you that this is the first step in creating sacred space within yourself, is using the power of your breath. The breath the way it was meant to be, where you take full breaths in and full breaths out. And those full breaths aren't with strain, but whatever a full breath is for you, where you consciously allow your belly to rise as you inhale and fall as you exhale. And let's ring this bell. And if you have a bell, I invite you to get one and to ring the bell saying hello. Hello to the spirit guides. Hello, God. Invoking their energy, their presence into your physical space and into your inner space. Hello, God. Hello, spirit guides. Hello to my higher power. We invoke thy presence into this space, into our physical space and our inner space, allowing ourselves to connect, to be awake to this higher power that is within us, outside of us, all around us. And just allow the bell as it resonates to penetrate all the levels of your being, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And as you feel that bell resonating within your body, within your mind, in your eardrums, Say thank you. Thank you to the spirit guides, to God, for their presence, your awakening, your oneness. Om. Peace. Amen. And we're going to light the candle, the ghee lamp. The ghee lamp is about bringing that transformative power of the flame of fire into the space to transform the energies, because fire transforms quicker than anything on the physical plane. Just invite that fire, that flame, that light into yourself, into your physical space. And we bring in the Palo Santo to bring in the energies to help remove the downward pulling energies that clear the space for the higher conscious energy of spirit. Allowing that Palo Santo to come through the ethers all the way to yourself, cleansing your body, mind, and soul of the false limiting beliefs that stop your flow and connection. So I was meditating the other day, and I got about the important things about how do we start to awaken the sacred space within yourself. That sacred space within you obviously is your connection, your oneness with God, with spirit, with the spirit guides, in whatever form that speaks to you in your present place, because whatever form is speaking to you is what you need at this time. And like they were saying earlier, the breath is where it all begins. See, in order to create that sacred space within you, you have to start to calm your mind, calm your body. Now, you may not notice that you're not calm in your body, but if you take a moment and you close your eyes and you check in, is there some place that you feel tension or discomfort? Because that is a place where your body is not calm. And so they're telling me that it begins with the ability to relax. And that relaxation starts with how do we relax your mind? Because what creates so much of the tension in your body is your mind. Okay? The worry thoughts that you have, the beliefs that make you feel like you're maybe tolerating or a victim in some way where you can't do something about something that's bothering you. See, all of those create tension when you feel like you're a victim where there's nothing you can do, that this life is happening to you, this thing is happening to you, and you don't know how to fix it or change it, or that you feel, and this is the worst, is when you really truly believe that there's nothing you can do to make a difference, okay? Which they're telling me that's not true, all right? So it's about how do you start to relax? And the breath is one of the most powerful tools to begin the relaxation process. Now, they're wanting me to tell you, you do not have to be perfect in your relaxation. You don't have to be perfect in being calm, because if you're striving for perfection, you won't be relaxed, because you're going to be on the gerbil wheel of trying to make it better, trying to be perfect. And what they're telling me is that on the physical plane, there is no perfection. That everything on the physical plane has a point of where it's still growing to its fullness, and then when it has a moment of hitting what we think is that fullness, it switches to the dying process, because that's the process of the physical plane. birth, life, growing, then dying, and receding and recession, basically. And it starts over again. And so they want you to let go of this belief that there's perfection, and understand that if you're someone who is in perfectionism or caught in perfectionism, it's because you have an emotional wound that you think something is lacking in you, and that if you can just be perfect, that feeling will go away. And what they want you to do is to let go of that, okay, through your breath. So they're wanting you to close your eyes, just take a deep belly breath at a pace that's comfortable for you, where the belly rises with the inhalation and falls with the exhalation. And with the inner breath, you bring in love and acceptance. And with the exhalation, you breathe out any beliefs of imperfection, of you're not enough. And they're really wanting you to practice that in and out. For they're saying, if you could do it 5 minutes a day, it will be a beginning. Now, depending on you, on what level of perfectionism you have, or what level of worry and anxiety you have, 5 minutes might not be enough, okay? But for someone who's not having some kind of anxiety problem, they're saying 5 minutes will begin to create that sacred space. Now, what they're recommending, because we're here in my Sacred Art Studio to create your medium, I'm going to be creating this little dot star. Oh, thank you for sharing who you are, Just a Yogi and the Fifth World and Olivario. Thank you for introducing yourself. I really appreciate that. But they're talking about how when you're going to go do creative projects, okay, and if you are someone who identifies as a creative mystic, which is somebody who is a creative and a spiritual seeker, someone who's wanting to grow spiritually, you're a creative mystic. If you have any inclinations that, I'd like to grow spiritually in that I want to get more intuitive downloads, I want to have more inner peace, I want to have more inner joy or love, or I want to feel connected to the oneness, that's someone who's a mystic. You're wanting that direct experience, okay? And as a creative, you're wanting to actually create things in the world, okay? Now, of course, if you've done any study on the manifestation laws, everything's created because everything is energy and it's already here energetically, okay? It's already been thought in some energetic form. But if you want to take it from the energy form to the physical form, then that's a creative who wants to, I love to make things. And I love to make things. I'd love to see in the chat, any of you, do you love making things? And if you love making things, what it is you love to make. Because there is no wrong or right creative process, okay? But there are ways that when you do it, you can be more connected. So the beginning part is, how do you start to create that sacred space within you? So before I start to create any of my spirit guide portals, now this is not a spirit guide portal, this is an experiment. We're going to talk about this here in a minute. But they're wanting me to share with you about the sacred space part. And the sacred space within yourself is about first inviting in calmness. And the reason why they're saying calmness is because calmness is something that you cultivate even if you're doing something. Okay, even if around you there's chaos or you have concern about what's going on in the world, if you can be calm amongst the storm, that is true spiritual growth. And that is something, when you want to be in the creative flow of creating something, you want to be able to start to touch that calmness. And it begins with your breath. And so that's what they want you to focus on today. Now, they're telling me as we can start to paint and things like that, we're going to share more with you. But they wanted me to have you start with that because we're starting to create that sacred space here. and within yourself. Now they're also telling me, and this is something I do before I even get on this live with you, I do some prayers about connection. I ask my spirit guides who wants to come in, and so today it was Heart Chakra Angel and Mother Sincerity, and I asked, what should I paint today? And they wanted me to continue with this dot painting, all right? So what they want you to do right now is for you to do a prayer. You get to decide what that prayer is right now. Now, what they're suggesting to me, because about bringing in the energy of sacred space and calmness, is that you not make it a begging prayer. Okay, now you may not know what a begging prayer is, but a begging prayer is where you're like, please, please, please make this happen, or please, because you're desperate for something to be different. What they're wanting you to do is do a prayer of intention that you are connected and you know it, and that you're just bringing your attention to that connection, to that oneness, okay? And to affirm the oneness. So they're asking me to share with you, like, well, part of my prayer that I do that whenever I do these lives is to move my little self aside, my ego self, and let the infinite light and energy of the divine to flow through me. Because my ego self, right, wants it to be a good painter, can worry about what other people think sometimes, you know, wants to get better at something. But when I'm in that divine flow, when I just allow it to come through me, then the ego just takes a back seat. Now, we need our ego to help us do these things, but understand that the more you can move your little self aside and see God, Spirit, my spirit guides as the doer, the more the creative flow comes through. All right, so I'm going to see here. I see some people put something up. I just want to make sure there's no questions. Oh, Olivario, that's cool. Yeah, you don't have to have a painting today. It's just about helping people to start to create that sacred space. And the thing about being a creative is I do painting because I love painting, because when I'm painting, there's this flow. And now I know why Heart Chakra Angel wanted me to have you up here. Heart Chakra Angel was a spirit guide portal that got a vision, and it ended up not looking anything like this. But I got a vision that, I'm supposed to create this angel. And at first I thought it was going to be Archangel Raphael. But then as I got in front of the canvas, I realized, oh no, it's not going to be Archangel Raphael. And I started to just feel the energies of where I was being guided to put the paint and what color to put and what to do. And as I was painting it, what came through was, oh, this is a heart chakra angel. And that we all have a heart chakra angel. And that heart chakra angel is there to help us to actually say yes to our true heart's desires. And so part of being in that sacred space is not squishing your true heart's desires. That's what they're telling me. That's really important for you to know, is that you cannot squish your true heart's desires if you want to create the sacred space within yourself. Because if you're squishing what's true, you will be continually fighting with yourself. So they're talking about that. Yes, Olivario, yeah, I find as you paint, you connect more. It's really, but it's how you paint. You know, there's some people who are painters some people paint to process their emotional wounds, which that's perfectly okay. In fact, you know, if you're in a place where you have extreme trauma, you need a way to express that, okay? And so painting can help you with that. But if you actually paint with the idea of, let me be in that creative flow, then more comes through you, okay? Rather than, oh, this is what I'm trying to do. And that's the thing. That's been one of my lessons in my life is, even when I first got on the spiritual path many, many years ago as a Buddhist, because I call myself a Buddhist yogi, the creative mystic Buddhist yogi, basically, is that the first law I've learned, because there's these spiritual laws operating in your life 24/7, was about the law of cause and effect. And it is one of the most important laws. When you truly understand everything about it, life transforms itself. But when I first learned about the law of cause and effect, I thought the cause was that I had to make every cause by what I did physically. Anybody been like that, where you know about the physical laws of the law of cause and effect, but you think you have to do it physically? And as I was on the spiritual path longer, I started to realize that it is not so much what I'm doing, but the consciousness of the cause that I'm making. That's the doing. What consciousness am I having when I'm actually in the physical doing? And that sometimes when I'm in the right consciousness, I don't even end up having to do anything physically, because the first cause is really your consciousness, who you're self-conceptive of, where you reside in that consciousness. Now, when you start to combine creativity with spiritual practices, you get into that flow which uplifts you, that divine flow of oneness. And so that's the most important sacred space. If you're wanting to grow spiritually, let your spiritual gifts that you may not know are there be awakened to them. Because if you've been here before, I was a non-visual person. I went from being totally non-visual, couldn't see anything meditation, to getting visions of spirit guides and painting them and creating them into spirit guide portals so that you can be blessed by them. And so you just don't know what can be awakened when you actually start to do it. So I'm wondering out there, just because there are a few people live, how many of you feel supported in your creative, in your creativity? Because I don't know what creative method you use, whether you're a painter or a writer, or you knit, or whatever you do creatively, woodwork. Do you feel supported in it? Because what I know, that the way I was conditioned and programmed was that creativity came last. And that I only got to do that after I did all my important work, which was the logical, practical things. I'd love it to see if anybody felt that way or got programmed with that. Because I have found that our society tends to look at, they may talk about creativity being important, but then they always look at productivity as the result. And so people tend to let creativity take a back burner. So I'd love it if you'd like to share with there. We're going to get started on painting this little thing here. Now, let me share about this. This is a different type of painting I've done. See, one of the things that opens up your flow of creativity too is connecting with spirit and asking what they want you to create. And so this did not come from any vision. It came from me sitting in front of a canvas and asking what you want me to do. And they tell me to put these dots. And they just keep telling me to put these dots in this way. And they told me, when I asked what to paint today, they said, we're going to still keep working on the dots. So I said, all right. So we're going to pull out the palette for working on the dots. And we're going to start doing that. Now, if you have a creative process, I invite you to take that out, do the prayer that we talked about, do your best to let go of trying to make things happen, and allow spirit to flow through you and guide you on what to do. So, one of the things with the spirit guides is, as I'm painting, they often come through and give me intuitive downloads, or I have ahas myself, and they will usually want me to share some ahas with you. So the heart chakra angel is really wanting to share with you the importance of, do you take care of listening to your heart? I'm going to take a moment and do a little prayer here, okay? So they're talking about the importance of taking care of your heart. And you might be going like, they don't mean like making sure you don't have a heart attack. They're talking about taking the time to actually listen to what your heart is communicating to you. And that's what taking care of your heart is, they're saying, is it's about creating space. Oh, it's about space. You know, we're talking about the space of time that you tune into it, but also they're talking about making space like in your mind, because if your mind is constantly thinking, or trying to figure something out, figure something out, it doesn't create the space for you to allow what your heart is trying to communicate to you. So one of the things they want you to do is they want you to take a moment. So if anybody, I see Olivera, you said you've had some problems because you've kind of been in survival mode, is to take a moment and put your hands on your heart. And they're showing me like, I'll show you just so you guys can see, you know, like this on your heart, like where you, and just relax and put your hands on your heart and say the words, I'm listening. I'm listening. And you can do that every day. Because they're wanting me, like before I started to paint, you notice I stopped, said, let me do a little prayer. Because I wanted to feel connected. I also wanted to reconnect with spirit to make sure that I'm allowing, because allowing is space. So talking about the importance of space, the space like roominess space, I guess is the way to say it, because it's really about how do you create that roominess space. Because if there's too much, they're like talking about a clutter. So it's like in your house. If you have a lot of clutter, sometimes that can stunt the growth of money coming in, can stunt the growth of, I think I have to put out some new paint. This white paint is sticking and not dropping on. It's not allowing the space for you to bring anything else in. So if you have a really cluttered house, right, you got like tons of junk everywhere. What happens? It gets to a point where someone can barely get into their house, right? Or they can barely move through or manipulate. So it's the same way in your mind. If it's constantly thinking, trying to figure something out, worry, these are all things we fill our minds with, they're saying, then it's really hard for you to allow and hear what your heart is communicating to you. There we go. So how can you make some space? Starts with the breath, because they talked about that right at the beginning, that your breath helps your mind be calm, and that calmness is the beginning of creating space. Now, the other thing But if you're wanting to be in divine flow with any kind of creative project, they're saying you have to allow yourself to do something different. So they're wanting me to share with you, like, if you look at, you may not see all my paintings, but Heart Chakra Angel, Sincerity, Mother of the Universe, Holy Mary, Mother of Love, they're all smooth and flat. That's kind of been the way I like to paint. Smooth and flat. I like things to be smooth. But this particular painting of this star or snowflake, which is just being like listening to where they're telling me to put the paint, is not smooth. It's bumpy. It's raised off of the canvas. Totally different than what I normally do. And I have no idea when I'm doing this, what it's going to end up looking like at the end, and what the end product is going to be, because I didn't have any idea of what I was starting with. But I allowed the guidance of, well, it's telling me to put dots. Put a dot here, put a dot there, put a dot here, and I'm getting to make it a raised dot, not a flat dot. And just put the paint, build the paint on top of the paint. So that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm building the paint up. So in creating the sacred space within yourself, you have to be willing to let go of things that are no longer serving you. Because it is our beliefs that dictate what we do. So if you define yourself as a certain kind of painter or a certain kind of writer, you could be cutting off the very thing that is going to bring you the success you desire with your creativity. Oliver, you have a lot of space because you just moved. Well, when will it get filled in, right? Won't it? It'll probably get filled in at some point. I always talk about, they're wanting me to talk about experimentation again. Part of what allows the divine flow is the willingness to experiment. And you might have heard that before, but do you actually let that happen in your own life, is what they're saying. Do you actually allow experimentation in your own life? And they're saying, if you don't allow yourself to fail, and failure is just not having the result that you thought you'd like to get, then you're not allowing yourself to experiment. Because they're saying experiments aren't about failure, they're about what are the results and then learning from it. And so if you want to experiment, you have to allow yourself to do it and just see the result. And that's what we're doing here with this dot painting. I call it a dot painting because that's all I've done is put these little dots in there. I think I did 2 little strokes on each side of these things and then realized that that wasn't for me to do anymore, and just the little strokes. So yeah, your breath actually can do all kinds of things, Olivario. It can, if you have physical pain and you start to learn how to bring the space. See, like when I'm also certified as a yoga teacher. So one of the things that they would talk about when I took the yoga teacher training years ago was, like breathe in space into any tense area. And when you can actually do that, all the tension just falls away. It goes away. It drops away. And so that's the thing why space is so important. And it begins with your breath. So the thing about also when you're creating with spirit is, and this is something I learned, my art teacher, wasn't even a necessarily spiritual person, but he used to yell at me when I first started painting. He'd yell across the art studio, relax, Deepa, relax. You have to relax if you're painting. And that's when I started to do some yoga postures and focus on my breath. The other thing about the heart chakra angel is talking about is when you give yourself space to listen to yourself, where you let go of all the constant thinking, figuring out, worrying, is then you can follow what you're guided to do. Not trying to be good. In fact, trying to be good is one of the biggest culprits to experimentation, to growing spiritually. Tension. If you have any kind of tension, it's showing you that you have some kind of stress or worry, which is based in some kind of fear. People talk about stress or worry, but it really comes down to, what are you afraid of? Yes, Alavari, I get often the spirit guides will tell me what color to put down. I'm backing that because right now I need to see what it looks like. One of the things when you actually look at paintings, and this is one of the things I always talk about, how painting is like a metaphor for life, is that when you're up close to the painting, it looks one way, and then when you step back, it looks another. So you have to take a step back in that creation process. So you get a better view of what you're doing, as opposed to if you stay right up on it the whole time. You can't always see what it looks like. I'm going to get a little more paint out. And then we might switch to another painting, because I'm getting like This might be almost done pretty soon. We'll see. They also wanted me to share with you one of my other big things that can happen, because they're wanting you to be able to look out for it is, like once something starts looking pretty good, what's the voice that can come up? My fear, right? That I don't want to wreck it. My fear that I don't want to make it, I want to make it keep looking good. And it's like, how do you just keep trusting that Spirit's speaking through you? That whatever is going to come through is the exact right thing. Because that's how life is, And sometimes it looks ugly. That's what happened. Some of my opinions is I'd be guided to put something down, and sometimes it wouldn't look so good. And then I would realize, I have to cover something up, and that's one of the reasons why I love oil paintings. But when I would cover it up, then it would bleed through, and I'd be like, oh, that gives a different effect. So it wasn't really a mistake. Just my ego thinks it's a mistake. So what in your life? I love that, Olivario. That yes, it's about the stars. They said this communicates that the stars and the multiverse are infinite, just like possibilities. Yes, fear is the greatest enemy of life and transcendence. It's so true. But, fear is something that we have to deal with when we're in the physical body. And that's one of the things that, until you're totally, fully God-realized, fully enlightened, self-realized, whatever the term you use, you have to learn how to actually operate in life even though you have fear. You have to be able to know when it's like, yes, I'm having some fear, but moving forward anyway. Because if you are waiting to have like the peace where before you move forward, you'll never move forward. You'll get peace when you get the download. Like you'll have that peace when you first get the intuitive guidance that you're supposed to do this thing. But when you go to actually start to physically do it on the physical plane, fear can come up. So, for instance, like when I talked about when I got the download that I was supposed to put on my website that I can tune into somebody's energy and see their spirit guide and then create it into their personal spirit guide portal. I got that download and I was like really calm when I got it. But then, I got told to put it on my website, and I put it on my website. But then when it came into somebody actually connecting with me to get one, I hadn't done one at first. Now I've done several, but excuse me, I had fear come up because I was like, oh no, I don't even know if I can do this. But I moved forward anyway. Excuse me. Because I trusted Spirit. I trust my intuitive downloads enough to go, well, I'm going to do this because I'm getting this guidance. Even if it's scary. Excuse me. That's true, Olivario. If you have fear, I always tell people, if you can actually sit with your emotions that you're having, they pass through quite quickly. But most people, what happens when they start to have certain emotions, if they don't like what they're feeling, they go do something to numb themselves or to avoid the feeling. And that could be an addiction, drinking, drugs, could be watch TV to, mindless watching because you just don't want to feel your feelings. But the more you can actually be with them, it's one of the things about, I find that I'm really different than most people who are on the spiritual path, is that there can be no spiritual bypass. You have to be willing to heal whatever emotional wounds you have, and that's what will enable the growth that you desire. Yeah, Oliver, it's all about, putting yourself out there. How can you be true to yourself? Like that's me being here on my YouTube channel. It's about how do I step in more and more to being my true self in front of people who are watching, or watching the video later. Because me doing these paintings on lives, I was guided to do that, and it was really going out of my comfort zone when I first started doing it, because I was used to completing a painting before I let anybody else ever see it. And that way I could do whatever I need to do. And I was programmed to lead with my competence rather than my joy, even though I came in on the joy vibration, because I came in as a very joyful kid. And curious, anybody who's live, like, have you had challenges just continually being your authentic self, continuing to step into those intuitive nudges and callings, even if they don't make any logical sense? Because that was one of the biggest deterrents of spiritual growth for me. Was I kept, in the beginning, thinking the logical was the better. And I had to really practice to do the illogical, let go of the illogical. Like putting on my website that I could see someone's spirit guide was totally illogical, because I didn't know if I could do it, even though I was getting divine guidance to do it. So is there something like that for you who are watching this or listening in the recording or listening to it now, that you've gotten that you're supposed to, you really feel called to do, but it doesn't make any logical sense? And so there's a part of you that doesn't want to do it because you feel like you're going to look like a fool, or someone's going to think you're crazy. I invite you to give it a voice, because that voice can make a difference. So the heart chakra angel is coming in and saying if anybody has a question they want to ask the heart chakra angel about getting some intuitive guidance, they want to actually share that with somebody. If somebody has a question, if no one does, that's fine. But if you do, put it up, and I will ask the heart chakra angel and give you the guidance that she's wanting me to tell you. So let me see here. Oliver, yes. You know, when you keep seeing it over and over and over, it's like, what do you need to learn, right? What do you need to, I say, if you keep seeing the same thing over and over, it means there's something you've been unwilling to let go of or unwilling, or something you haven't been allowing to come in. And so, like, what that is. Love to hear what you had to let go of. I don't know if you want to tell on YouTube, but I'd love it. Because it's, you know, it can be so challenging for people to go into that next phase of growth. And even though they're seeing it, it's slightly different form, but the same issue, you know, that you know is there. So, again, anybody have any questions? But I'm glad that you were able to see it, Olivario. I'm probably not saying your name right, but doing the best I can. Or is it JoJo? Because you got the JoJo with it too, so. So what do you like to be called? It's hard to believe. I'm going to step back one more time, see how the little star's coming. It's funny because this star to me looks like a star and a snowflake and all of it all rolled into one. And it makes me, when I think of it as like a snowflake or a star, like there is no right form. You know, it's like, what's it supposed to just be? Oh, I'm glad you discovered it too, Oliver. Just so anybody who's new, if you, I do this live usually at least 3 times a month. Once in a while, I do it 4 times a month. I do it usually every Thursday, not usually. I do it on Thursdays at 3:30 Eastern. But if you like the idea of getting some support for creativity, please subscribe. I like to show my little art things I make. Subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, because it all helps my channel, like my little art. I don't know if you can see my little hand I made. And turn on your notifications, and then you'll get told when the next live's happening. There will be one happening next week, too, but I always put that in there. And if anybody is interested, also more support, I'm going to be launching a membership for people who are creatives and spiritual seekers. And it's all about giving you the support to be your creative self, to teach you the tools of success so that you can be successful in your creative projects, in your creative path, but also how do you actually be successful in your life with that, and giving you the spiritual practices so that you'll always be in the creative flow. Because often I hear people who feel creatively blocked, but yet they're creatives, and it's about you need support so how you can actually get out of that creative block. And so if you're interested in that, please feel free to check out, well, not check out, but get out on my membership wing list, and you become a founding member. And a founding member is somebody who's going to get to give some input on some of the things I put in there. I've got obviously my ideas, but I want this to be something that is beneficial to you, because I really feel in the world that there's not enough support around you people, and the importance of actually acting on your creativity. And for me, acting on your creativity is one of the most important things, because it is what opened up my spiritual gifts. If you're looking to grow spiritually and wanting to awaken some of your spiritual gifts that maybe haven't blossomed yet, this is the path that opened it up for me. So please check it out and go to the membership wait list if you'd like to. Nothing that you have to do, but it's just something if you feel like it's for you, feel free to check it out. Olivario, why is the star in the circle? I actually do not know. I was just told to do this. It's not really a circle, but they told me to put some extra dots around the star. So that has not come through to me on why it's in a circle. I was getting, but not to do it now, was to actually start to take a light white film and put it in between, but not heavy. It'll be grayish white. So, but you know what's coming through, because you asked the question, Olivario, is the star is in the circle because there was a saying spiritually when I lived in the ashram, what was it? Center everywhere, circumference nowhere. I might have it backwards, but the idea, though, is that every star is one with all stars, but is also its own individual star. Does that making sense, Olivario? But that's what they're coming through and telling me, that they want people to understand that you're an individual expression of the oneness, of the light, of all the light that's out there, the God consciousness. So that, but you're an individualized, they're saying individualized form of that. And so they're actually, they wanted me to put all these little white things around with the idea that to know that we're in the oneness, that it's not just one star, it's one star amongst many stars, but yet all the stars are one. I don't know if that's making any sense to you, Olivario. Since you asked the question, I'll wait to see if you say that makes sense or not. So, yeah, my Holy Mary Mother of healing is all about that, Olivario. I've got I don't know if I can reach it and get it down, but this is out of camera view. But this is Holy Mary Mother of Healing. And when I did this, I thought, oh, it's so dark, my ego self. But it was, she said about how, in order to heal, you have to be willing to go into the darkness. And people don't want to go into the darkness. They're afraid. So that darkness, and she's saying, is all those emotions and feelings you don't want to have. That's the darkness. You want to go into it and be friends with it, because that actually helps you heal. So yes, where there is darkness, there is light. Where there is light, there is darkness. So it's really about your willingness to go into the darkness to heal. And that's what brings out the light. And Mother of Healing was all about that, about how do you actually be willing to go into the darkness so that you can heal. And what happens is you actually come out a brighter light. Like this star is in all the darkness, like totally black. And then there's all these little lighter kind of little dots you see. And those are all the little like stars that are fainter. But to make your star even brighter, you have to be willing to go into this darkness. So that's kind of the message there. But if there's no other questions, no questions to ask the spirit guides or anybody, it's 4:30. It comes by fast. I'll be wrapping it up soon, but I'll give it a second to see if anybody puts anything through that they might have a question. But we're going to be here next week. creating, making this sacred space to create. So if you have a project, please be willing to bring it, and we're going to invite in the spirit guides. I don't know what they want me to focus on yet because I haven't had a chance to meditate on it and ask them. If you have a question that you might like it to be focused on next week, please put it in the chat here, and I'll ask them if they're willing to come through and answer that, or talk about it, to share more about it. So if there's some struggle you're having in your spiritual growth, or something you're desiring in your spiritual growth, please drop it into the chat, because I usually will schedule the live 2 or 3 days before. And once spirit guides give me what to title it. So I'll give it a minute or two, see if anybody comes through, and if not, we'll be signing off here in a minute. But to everyone who comes or watches this in the recording, thank you so much. It's my opportunity to get to be a blessing, to let my spirit guides flow through and bless you, which is a part of my purpose and joy in life, is to let the divine flow through and to help you step into you being the bright light you're supposed to be. So if you're in a place where you're looking to be that bright light, but just haven't taken that leap and you're looking for support, please feel free to take advantage of my next step connection call. I'll put that up for you too for a minute, because there we go. It's deepaloo.com/gift. If you're looking for a spiritual mentor coach to help you like go to that next level of growth, whether it's you want to manifest your purpose or you want to be able to connect with your guides, would love to see if we're a fit and if you're something that you're looking to do. All right. So let me just check to make sure there's no, last questions. Windows and doors. Not sure what you mean by that, Olivario, but that's cool. Yeah, there are windows and doors. I think I get what you mean. Yeah, okay. All righty, everybody. No questions. We're going to sign off, and we will see you hopefully next week. All right, blessings.